This is going to be a bit of a weird one. I've been finding myself saying a lot of the time in my recent videos that now, as an older anime fan, now that I'm 30 years old, I feel as though my perspective on a lot of the animes that I watch currently has changed because I'm an older guy. Maybe the next 10 years of my life, the type of animes that I enjoy watching now, maybe they will be different. Maybe they will be more of the psychological or philosophical animes. Maybe they will be things that are more mundane. Not saying that I don't like mundane anime, or not saying that I don't even like mundane series. One of my favorite series of all time, even though it's not an anime, is this TV show called Terrace House, where three guys and three girls together, and it's like this Japanese TV show. But I've just been finding myself more and more detached from certain series, and it's not like entirely, it's not like I don't enjoy them, but I find that certain themes, especially when it comes to romance, I feel as though I'm so far removed from them because I've grown older. My Hero Academia, I feel as though if I was 10 years younger, My Hero Academia probably would have had the same impact on me that Naruto had on me, or the same impact that Naruto and One Piece had on me. But One Piece is weird because One Piece is still ongoing, but I feel as though certain things I'll be more connected to. And maybe I should re-watch some of the older animes that I was into before, like maybe rewatch Hitman Reborn. But I still think it's the same, because even in certain older series that I watch now, it's still the same problem, especially when it comes to the romance aspects of these shows. I find it quite annoying when I see these characters and they're together, like take for example Deku and Ochiko, right? Or Urahara or whatever. I'm not caught up to date with the manga, and actually I haven't watched this newest season so far, so please do not spoil me. But I just kind of find it weird that you spend the entire series with these two characters. And don't get me wrong, Naruto does this as well, and I actually want to make a funny video about that as well. But I just find it kind of annoying in all of these animes where you spend the whole entire season or the whole entire series with two characters and you can tell they like each other and they just never say anything about it. Now, when you're 14 years old, that's cool because you act the same way when you're 16, when you're 17, when you're 18, when you're 20. God forbid when you're 25, you're still acting like this. If you are, RIP. But when you're a 30-year-old man, that stuff is just kind of infuriating. It's like, I could never see myself, I think, harem anime. I could never see myself liking a harem anime because I think it's actually kind of part of me's I censored myself just then, but I'm just gonna say it. I think to some degree I do think it's kind of pathetic to some degree. I'm not saying that if you like harem it's pathetic, but I'm saying that what I am saying is that don't connect to that theme of it anymore, of like you like someone and then you like hide it forever and you don't say anything. It just doesn't resonate with me anymore. It's kind of annoying. Another thing is like high schools. Like this is all, high schools have always been a problem in anime. Like people have always had like been like, why is everything in high school? But when I think about it, like this is a big thing with My Hero Academia as well. Jujutsu Kaisen is kind of guilty of this, but I think My Hero Academia is even more guilty of this than Jujutsu Kaisen. Jujutsu Kaisen is guilty of this in that I feel as though if you took Jujutsu High out of the series, it wouldn't change anything. It would not change anything about the series. Like, what if Jujutsu High was a university instead? Actually, that would change certain things. It would make it even better. Oh man, like this is some of the things that I get pissed off with anime. Like I wish more series took place in university. That would be way more relatable to me as an older fan. If more series took place in university, because I can actually kind of look back with that on that sort of time period in my life, because it's not that far removed. But it wouldn't change Jujutsu Kaisen if the series didn't have a high school at all. If it was just like, there's the Jujutsu Society, right? Kind of like Yu Yu Hakusho. Imagine if they just randomly threw a high school into that. Like there is high school, there's the real high school. But imagine if Spirit Detectives had to go through a random sort of schooling system and you had all these random characters who didn't really do anything. And that's kind of how I feel about My Hero Academia as well, is in that I almost feel as though My Hero Academia, I want to do a full video on this. I feel as though My Hero Academia would have been a way better series if it didn't take place over the course of a year, from what I can, again, from just, I don't know everything because I'm not caught up, right? But from what I know, it takes place over the course of a year. Just imagine how good My Hero Academia would be if it followed Deku from year one to, let's say if hypothetically it did go into university, to the end of his university graduation. What if the same story took place, but Deku got that much older throughout it? I feel as though that would make the series 2 times better for me. It would legit. That's what I thought. I didn't think they were going to do the whole university thing because this is shonen. Like, they were never going to do that, right? Even though we've had older characters in the past like Kenshin, and Gintoki is older, which is what I appreciate about Gintama, is that Gintoki is an older guy. I can relate to him so much more. In the same way that shows like Cowboy Bebop, like I didn't understand that when I was younger, but I'll come back to that part. But I thought that My Hero Academia would go from Deku being in year 1 of UA all the way to him being in year 3. Now, I know there's some minor spoilers out there, and I know there's something to do with McDonald's, so I don't know where that goes. Please do not spoil me. But from what I know, the main story is just a 1 year. Like, what if they just made it 3 years and you saw like more of a maturity from the character? Maybe you wouldn't have that stupid love thing with him and Ochako. Maybe they could express that a bit more throughout the actual series. It would be so cool to have a more mature character. That's the reason why, even though I'm not caught up to Gintama, even though I've just watched like 150 episodes of it, I really resonate with that series because I feel as though Gintoki is an old man. There's this saying that One Piece is about a boy becoming a man, and it is in many ways, right? But Gintama is about a boy who becomes a man who now has to pay rent. I feel as though those themes are so much more relatable now to me as an adult. And sometimes he talks about how, sometimes Gintoki will go on a rant about how dreary life can be and how my good friend Shiki made a video about how there was a whole arc about how we waste our time with distractions. And I need to rewatch that arc because that sounds so relatable, right? And to touch back on what I was saying about Cowboy Bebop, I did not understand Cowboy Bebop the first time I watched it. I actually dropped it a couple of times because I was a younger guy. But now as an older guy, and I went back to watch Cowboy Bebop like maybe 2-3 years ago is when I first fully sat through Cowboy Bebop. I understand that show so much more now, and I can appreciate it because it really is about adults coming to grips with their issues, and as a young guy you don't really understand that fully. It's the reason why I appreciated Kaiju number 8 a lot, because I feel as though that first episode was kind of really meta, and it was kind of really powerful because I feel as though so many old heads that are in this community that have been with these series for long periods of time can relate to Kafka. Like they've wanted to be in the Defense Force, and maybe they made it, maybe they made some progress towards it, or maybe they're just like Kafka and they didn't get that shot. But Kafka, throughout the episode, he gains the courage to fully go for it and he gets in. Granted, he does have this power that was randomly granted towards him, but the cool thing about that series in itself is that if Kafka didn't have the bravery that he had, even if he got the power, things wouldn't have turned out the way they did. I just think that when it comes to this anime and manga thing sometimes, like with these new series, like I'm watching Dandadan and I think it's cool. I just hope that with Dandadan, as I'm watching it, I'm not going to feel the same way I feel about My Hero Academia at times, to where I'm like, oh man, they're still doing this kiddie stuff. Meanwhile, I am 30. I get why people find Berserk so appealing now. Recently, I made the shorts where I was like, I'm more into shonen than seinen, which is still true at this point in time. It might change in 5 years' time, but I can understand why older fans like Berserk appeals to them more, because Guts is a more mature character. He's been through stuff. He's seen the darkness of the world, you know? But I don't think when it comes to adult themes and shows, it just needs to be about dark themes. Kafka's story and how he is, it's not necessarily a dark story, it's a more positive story. And then you've got shows like Space Brothers, that was very much more so a mature show, but it wasn't necessarily depressive or dark, but it dealt with the same thing of like adults really having their final shot, or what they think is their final shot at like great success. That was what Space Brothers, it was about a guy that had this ambition and then he lost track of that ambition and he's trying to get back on track with it. You know, that's a relatable thing as well. I guess I'm making this whole video to say, maybe I'm getting old. Alright, I'm editing this thing and I just realized I want to add one thing. I don't think if you like harem anime it's pathetic. I think if you obsess over it, it's pathetic. If you're obsessing over like having a bunch of women like you and like being in that sort of wish fulfillment fantasy, I think that is pathetic. But if you just enjoy it and it's a bit of an escape, I get it. Like the dating market's a bit weird. I get that. But like just obsessing over it is weird. I just wanted to clarify that. I don't want to offend anyone that doesn't deserve it, but there we go.